We are living through a fundamental shift in the very fabric of how the world functions. For 60 years, the industry was defined by a single architectural paradigm, the general-purpose CPU. We lived in a world where we wrote software, we gave the computer instructions, and we relied on the miracle of Moore's Law to make those instructions run faster every single year. It was a wonderful era. It was a free lunch. But that era is over. The physics of the transistor have hit a wall, and the world's demand for intelligence is growing at an exponential rate that traditional computing simply cannot meet. We are at the iPhone moment of artificial intelligence, but it is much bigger than a phone. It is a new industrial revolution. In the first industrial revolution, we learned how to harness water and steam to produce power and augment human muscle. In this revolution, we are harnessing data and energy to produce intelligence and augment the human mind. This is the birth of the intelligence factory. Think about what a factory is. A factory takes in raw materials and energy and produces something of value. In the old world, the raw materials were physical. In the new world, the raw materials are data and electricity. The output is tokens of intelligence. And these tokens are the most valuable commodity ever produced by humanity. They are the foundation of a $100 trillion opportunity that will reshape every single industry on the planet, from manufacturing and healthcare to transportation and energy. To understand why this is happening now, we have to look at the world through first principles. If you look at the history of computing, we spent decades trying to make computers understand us. We wrote code in complex languages, C++, Java, Python, acting as translators between human intention and machine logic. We were limited by our own ability to specify instructions. But today, the computer finally understands us. It understands our language, it understands our images, and it understands the physical laws of our world. This transition from retrieval-based computing, where we just find information that was already stored, to generative-based computing, where we manufacture intelligence on demand, is the most profound change in the history of technology. For 30 years, NVIDIA has been preparing for this moment. And let me tell you, it was not a straight line to success. People see the valuation today, they see the H100s, and they see the leather jacket, but they don't see the decades of suffering that it took to get here. I often tell students that I wish them great doses of pain and suffering, and I mean it. Resilience is the single most important trait for an innovator. You cannot build the future if you are not willing to endure the fire of failure. In 1997, NVIDIA was 30 days away from bankruptcy. We had failed with our first architecture. We were a tiny company in a world of giants. We had to bet the entire company on a single chip, the Rive 128. We had to be humble enough to admit our first approach was wrong, and we had to move with desperate urgency. That humility, that willingness to admit when you are wrong and pivot based on the physics of the problem, is the soul of this company. We are a company that is always 30 days away from going out of business. We maintain that urgency because the moment you think you have arrived is the moment you stop innovating. We solve the impossible problems that nobody else wants to touch. We look for the $0 billion markets, the problems that don't have a market today, but if solved from first principles, will change the world tomorrow. Accelerated computing was one of those markets. For 15 years, we built the CUDA ecosystem when the world told us we were wasting our time. Analysts asked me, Jensen, why are you spending all this R&D on a programming model for a gaming chip? They didn't see what we saw. We saw that the CPU was reaching its limit. We saw that the world would eventually need a way to simulate reality and process data in parallel at a scale that serial processing could never achieve. This is why Moore's Law is no longer enough. Moore's Law was about the number of transistors on a chip. Accelerated computing is about the entire stack. It's about the chip, the system, the networking, the libraries, and the algorithms working together as one giant computer. When you look at the data center today, the data center is no longer a collection of servers. The data center is the unit of compute. It is a massive intelligence factory. The $100 trillion opportunity is the realization that every industry is now an information industry. Take manufacturing, for example. In the old world, you built a factory to make a physical product. In the new world, you build a digital twin of that factory first. You simulate every robot, every conveyor belt, every law of physics in the omniverse. You train the AI in the digital world before you ever lay a single brick in the physical world. This is physical AI. This is the bridge between the digital and the atoms. Everything that moves will eventually be autonomous. Every factory will be a robot. Every product will be designed and tested in a simulation that is indistinguishable from reality. In our company, we don't have a deep hierarchy. I have 50 direct reports. Why? Because I don't want a management culture. I want an engineering culture. I want the truth to travel at the speed of light. In a flat organization, you don't lead through authority. You lead through the clarity of your ideas. You lead by being the person who can identify the first principles of a problem and inspire others to solve it. If you have layers of management, the truth gets filtered. By the time it reaches the top, it's been sanitized. I want the raw truth. I want to know why a chip is failing, why an algorithm isn't converging, or why a market isn't responding. That clarity is what allows us to run, not walk, toward the future. We are moving from an era where we wrote software to an era where we train models. This is a massive shift in human productivity. In the past, if you wanted to build an application, you needed a team of coders. Today, if you have domain expertise, if you are a biologist, a chemist, or a mechanical engineer, you can command the AI to build the tool for you. The barrier to entry for solving the world's hardest problems has dropped to zero. This is the democratization of intelligence. Think about the impact on healthcare. For the first time, biology is becoming an engineering discipline. We are moving from wet labs and trial and error to digital biology. We are using AI supercomputers to map the human genome, to predict the folding of proteins, and to discover new drugs in a fraction of the time. We are turning a process that used to take 10 years and cost billions of dollars into a computational problem that can be solved in an intelligence factory. This is the death of disease. This is how we will cure cancer, not through luck, but through the sheer force of accelerated computing. And yet, many people are afraid. They look at the speed of this change and they want to slow down. They want to regulate before they understand. Let me tell you, this is a race. It is a race for every company, every country, and every individual. The $100 trillion opportunity will be captured by those who are willing to lean into the uncertainty. You have to be willing to be misunderstood for a long time. You have to be willing to work on things that didn't exist before. The work of your life is to build the things that only you can see. When we founded NVIDIA in a Denny's booth, we didn't know it would be $1 trillion company. We just knew that we wanted to build something that mattered. I cleaned toilets at Denny's. I washed dishes. I was the best dishwasher they ever had. I didn't see it as a low job. I saw it as a job that needed to be done with excellence. I brought that same mentality to NVIDIA. Every job, every chip, every line of code deserves excellence. If you can't clean a toilet with pride, you can't build a supercomputer. The intelligence factory is the most important infrastructure of the 21st century. It is the engine of the new economy. Countries are now realizing that they need sovereign AI. Your data is your natural resource. It belongs to you. You shouldn't have to export your data to another country to have it turned into intelligence and then buy it back. You need your own intelligence factory. You need to turn your own data into your own intelligence to power your own economy. This is the new definition of national security. As we move forward, the cost of intelligence will continue to drop. Intelligence will become as abundant and as cheap as electricity. When intelligence is abundant, the only limit to human progress is our own imagination. We are no longer limited by the tools we can build. We are only limited by the questions we can ask. This is why I say to everyone, learn to lead, not just to code. Coding is a transient skill. Leadership, vision, and the ability to think from first principles are the skills of the future. The $100 trillion opportunity is not just about making money. It is about solving the fundamental challenges of our species. It is about energy sustainability. It is about feeding the planet. It is about understanding the mysteries of the universe. We are finally building the instruments of science that will allow us to see the impossible. But you have to run. The world is moving fast. The iPhone moment for every industry is happening right now. If you are not reinventing your business around the intelligence factory, you are already obsolete. You have to have the grit to face the pain of transformation. You have to be willing to fail fast and iterate faster. You have to move with the urgency of a company that is 30 days from bankruptcy. I look at the future and I don't see a world where humans are replaced by AI. I see a world where humans are accelerated by AI. I see a world where every person has a brilliant companion that helps them be the best version of themselves. I see a world where the drudgery of the old way of working is replaced by the creativity of the new way. This is the promise of the $100 trillion opportunity. It is a future of unlimited potential. Potential that will be unlocked not by a few thousand developers in a basement, but by billions of people around the world who finally have the tools to turn their ideas into reality. This shift is fundamentally an architectural one. When you look at the architecture of the AI factory, you realize that the most important part isn't just the chip. It's the entire stack. We spent 3 decades building this stack: the chips, the systems, the networking, the libraries, and the algorithms. Because we realized from first principles that to solve the hardest problems, you have to own the entire problem. You cannot accelerate a workload if you have a bottleneck in the networking. You cannot train a model if you have a bottleneck in the memory. You have to build the whole computer. And the computer is now the data center. This is a massive change in how we think about the global economy. In the past, countries and companies viewed IT as a cost center. It was something you spent money on to make your back office more efficient. Today, the data center is a profit center. It is where you manufacture the most valuable product in the world: intelligence. This is why we are seeing the rise of sovereign AI. Every nation has realized that its data is its most precious natural resource. Your data is your culture, your history, your language, and your collective intelligence. You cannot afford to export that data, to have it turned into intelligence in a foreign land, and then buy it back. You must build your own intelligence factory. You must turn your own data into your own intelligence to power your own economy. This realization alone is a multi-trillion-dollar driver for the global economy. But to build these factories, we have to solve the impossible challenge of energy. We have reached the limit of the CPU era's energy efficiency. If we tried to power the AI revolution using traditional general-purpose computing, the world would run out of electricity. Accelerated computing is not just a performance play, it is a sustainability play. By moving these massive parallel workloads to GPUs, we have improved energy efficiency by factors of 20, 50, and even 100. We are doing more work with less power. This is the only way forward. It is the only path to a $100 trillion opportunity that doesn't bankrupt the planet's resources. When you have abundant, cheap, and sustainable intelligence, everything changes. We are moving from the era of digital AI to the era of physical AI. This is the next great frontier. Everything that moves will eventually be autonomous. We are building the foundations for this in the Omniverse. The Omniverse is a digital twin of the world that obeys the laws of physics. It is the gym where robots learn how to be robots. You cannot train a robot in the real world. It's too slow, too dangerous, and too expensive. You have to train it in a simulation that is indistinguishable from reality. We are training the next generation of robots to perceive the world, to reason about their surroundings, and to act with the precision of a human, but with the tireless efficiency of a machine. I see a future where every factory is a robot, building products that were designed by AI and tested in a digital twin. I see a future where autonomous vehicles have reduced traffic fatalities to near zero. I see a future where humanoid robots are working alongside us, doing the dangerous and repetitive jobs that humans shouldn't have to do. This is not science fiction. This is the world we are building today with our Blackwell architecture and our Isaac Robotics platform. We are giving the physical world a brain. This leads me to a very important piece of advice for the next generation. For 40 years, the mantra was learn to code. We told every student that they needed to speak the language of the computer to be successful. I am telling you today that the era of coding is dead. We have spent decades trying to bridge the gap between human intent and machine execution, and we have finally succeeded. The computer now speaks your language. The programming language of the future is natural language. If you want to be a leader in the $100 trillion economy, don't focus on the syntax of a coding language. Focus on the first principles of your domain. If you are a doctor, understand the biology of the cell so deeply that you can command an AI to design a cure. If you are an architect, understand the physics of materials and the flow of human life so well that you can command an AI to design a city that breathes. The how has been commoditized. The why is where the value lies. Your domain expertise is your superpower. The AI factory is your engine. Your job is to be the captain. To lead in this world, you have to be comfortable with the near-death experience. I look back at the moments where NVIDIA was 30 days from bankruptcy as our most important lessons. Those moments forced us to be humble. They forced us to be lean. They forced us to focus on the things that actually matter. In our company, we have a very flat structure because I want every single employee to feel that urgency. I don't want layers of management filtering the truth. I want the ground truth to travel at the speed of light. If you have an idea that can change the world, you shouldn't have to go through 5 layers of hierarchy to get it heard. You should be able to run with it. We are a company of builders. We build things that didn't exist before to solve the problems that nobody else could. And let me tell you, it is a life of suffering. It is a life of intense pressure and constant failure. But it is also a life of incredible meaning. There is no greater feeling than standing at the edge of the unknown, looking at a problem that everyone says is impossible, and finding a path through it using first principles. That is the work of your life. The $100 trillion opportunity is not a guarantee. It is a potential energy that must be converted into kinetic energy through the sheer force of our will and our resilience. We are in a race. It is a race to reinvent every industry, every process, and every product around the intelligence factory. The companies and nations that move with the most urgency will be the ones that define the next century. I see the iPhone moment happening in agriculture, where AI is helping us grow more food with less water and fewer chemicals. I see it in energy, where AI is helping us design the next generation of fusion reactors and optimize the global power grid. I see it in materials science, where AI is helping us discover new materials that can capture carbon and clean our oceans. This is the true promise of the intelligence revolution. It is a revolution of abundance, but you have to be willing to walk into the fire. You have to be willing to be misunderstood for a long time. When we launched CUDA, people thought we were crazy. When we launched the first AI supercomputer, people thought it was a niche product. You have to have the grit to stay the course when the rest of the world is skeptical. You have to believe in the physics of your vision more than the opinions of the crowd. At NVIDIA, we act like a startup every day because we know that the moment we stop running is the moment we become obsolete. We don't care about the valuation. We care about the mission. We care about providing the tools that allow you to reach your full potential. We are building the Blackwell architecture to be the engine of the human spirit. We are making intelligence so cheap and so abundant that every child on the planet has access to the world's best tutor, every doctor has access to the world's best diagnostic tool, and every engineer has access to the world's best creative partner. As we look toward the future, I want you to remember that the most important part of the AI factory is the human intention that drives it. The AI doesn't have a vision. The AI doesn't have a soul. The AI doesn't know what is worth suffering for. Only you do. Your values, your ethics, and your dreams are the North Star for this technology. We have given you the fire. It is up to you to decide how to use it. The transition from the CPU era to the era of accelerated computing and the intelligence factory is the most significant event in the history of our species. We are finally speaking the language of the universe. We are finally building the machines that can help us solve the riddles of nature that have baffled us for millennia. The $100 trillion opportunity is here. The tools are ready. The intelligence factories are online. The laws of physics are on our side. The conclusion is logically irrefutable. If we can manufacture intelligence at scale, there is no limit to what humanity can achieve. We are at the dawn of a new era of human flourishing. But the clock is ticking. The world is changing in real time. You cannot wait for the uncertainty to clear. You have to run into the fog. You have to lean into the pain. You have to be the leader that this new era demands. The future is something we build, token by token, simulation by simulation, with the grit to survive the near-death experiences and the humility to learn from our failures. This is the journey we are all on together. It is the most exciting time to be alive. Run, don't walk.